As workers return to their offices, will we be in suits or will we be in sweatpants? While some people can't wait to put on their formal attire, others of us are saying, wait, let's stay in our comfort clothes. And can we please work in comfort clothes into our new dress code in the offices? So, as we are transitioning from the home office to the workplace office in the traditional way, it's going to take some reevaluating on how we're going to show up. And it might even take some baby steps and some easy ways of transitioning. So stick around because we are going to unpack all of this and all its layers in just a minute. Welcome to waistUPwardrobe. I'm Christine Vartanian, a civil engineer and attorney turned personal style expert and image consultant. As the founder of Jade for All Seasons, I am passionate about unveiling the inner confidence of my clients by developing their personal style. But is getting dressed up still important in our virtual world? Well, that's where my experience can help with what I call waistUPwardrobe. waistUPwardrobe is a podcast for all things you need to conduct an outstanding Zoom meeting. It's about how to dress for the camera, but it's not just about the clothes. It's about everything you need to know to show up on brand and professionally for the camera. Join me in the waistUPwardrobe studio to discuss how to navigate this virtual world and dominate from behind the desk. Hello, Virtual Nation. Thank you for joining us for another episode 46 of waistUPwardrobe. And it has been nearly a year of recording shows of waistUPwardrobe. Episode 46, that means 46 weeks, and we're going on just in a few episodes. We'll be at 1 year of a full library of waistUPwardrobe episodes. And here's the thing. We have been in the workplace at home from our home office for that long, for almost, or actually over a year. And now what we're seeing is people are now starting to re-enter into the traditional workforce, and we're starting to want to transition, but the lines are blurred because we spent so long being in our home office. So today we're going to talk about that. We're going to tackle this. How do we easily transition? What are the new dress codes? Are there new dress codes? Can we dress a little bit down? We're going to unpack that in just a minute. But before I go there, I just want to say thank you for joining us. You know that we're on iTunes, so subscribe to us, review us, and rate us if you choose. And we are on Instagram. We're also on waistUPwardrobe is also on Facebook. That's where we stream every week through our Facebook page. And, these episodes live on Facebook in an evergreen way. That means you can replay any one of them at any time. And really what we've designed here is a library of episodes called waistUPwardrobe that will help people know how to show up on camera. Because here's the thing, even though we're transitioning into the new workforce, things are going to change, and the virtual office is not going away. We are going to be seeing hybrid, virtual, and traditional offices. We're going to be seeing companies go completely virtual. And of course, the traditional office will still stay intact, but it has transformed a little bit. So thank you for being here. Thank you to my producer who's always in the production room making this whole show go round. Remember to drop your comments in the comment box. I want to hear your what's on your mind. I want to answer your questions, and I want to give you as much valuable information as I can from an image perspective and how to show up in the office or behind the desk. So without talking about this in general terms any longer, let's dive right in. So with this dramatic, shift towards casual attire, right? We've all been in our home offices working in what I call waistUPwardrobe. We're dressed waist up formally, typically, if you are in a formal setting or formal line of work. And we're dressing a little down from the waist down in our pajamas or athleisure or our leggings or whatever that you are comfortable in. So it's been comfort waist down and business waist up. And so, we have this dichotomy right now that we're struggling with. So many of my clients are asking me, what do I do now? I'm so used to being in my comfort clothes. We've coined the term comfort clothes because they do give us comfort in more ways than one. Keeps us nice and cozy while we're working, but it also makes life easier where we don't have to spend time getting dressed up. So as workers are now re-entering, there's so many questions that are being asked. And the general question is, are we going to go back to that traditional way of dressing in our work that we used to have before we had to start working from home? Or are we going to really change the dress code? Are companies going to change dress codes, and are they eager to really incorporate the comfort of clothes in the traditional office? Well, that's a good question. There's a lot of conversation about it out there. Clothing trends are influenced by so many things, right? By what happens in history, by how people are living their lifestyle. And no doubt we had a year where we really were challenged about how we're going to show up in a professional way in our virtual office. So this work from home phenomena really influenced the way people dressed. Suddenly getting dressed up in, your athleisure on camera was okay. Sweatpants was okay. And if you were in a little bit more of a professional field where you had to show up a little bit more business formal, you were still staying comfortable below the waist, but, dressing up in your blazer as you showed up on camera. But now we're re-entering. And we really can't go to work with our pajama bottoms or our athleisure. So let's take this a little bit at a time and let's unpack it. And I'm going to do this by listing the pros and cons of whether of working, of going to work a little bit more casually or staying in that formal attire that we were used to. So the first thing we're going to evaluate is, let's talk about psychology. Okay, the psychology of dressing. In my work, I preach this all the time. I'm an image consultant who believes firmly that dressing up elevates our emotional vibration and that we can easily, make our mood feel better and feel better about ourselves by getting into a great outfit and a formal outfit. So the idea of getting dressed up to go back to work actually can be positive in the sense that it elevates your emotional feeling, it elevates your mood. And that is a really positive thing to be when you are stepping out into workforce and interacting with people. So 1 point for dressing a little bit more up and formally going back into workplace. Okay, how about the second thing of evaluating having this routine of dressing up, right? Or dressing differently than we were at home. You want this distinction. I dress up more comfortable at home, but when I go to work, I dress a little bit more formal. So there's this distinction. There's this clear line that puts us into a routine, and it is a little bit psychological as well, is having a routine. We feel a little bit more in control. We have this distinction between work and home. And that by itself can be a very positive emotional feeling of being, feeling like, okay, now I've got my, my home hat on, and now I've got my my office hat home. So that's this, and that actually can lessen your stress and anxiety. If you are feeling like you're in control, you kind of know the distinction between home life and work life, that can be a real stress reducer. And I'm going to say, I don't make this stuff up. Okay. Professor Carolyn Mayer, author of The Psychology of Fashion, said when she was interviewed for Today that what matters more than actual garments we wear is that they help us feel good. There you have it, Virtual Nation. Dressing up, actually, it's science says that the psychology of dressing up is real, and that dressing up makes us happier. So, and it makes us feel less anxious and more in control of our lives, and distinguishing the boundaries between those two, home and work life. So again, I'm just going to reiterate, I don't make this up, but there is real science and statistics out there that say that is important. So 2 points for getting dressed up. Okay, the third thing we're going to discuss is the first impressions. That old adage that dress for success. There's a reason that through history we've come up with a statement like that, because the way we show up, dictates how people receive us. Human nature. That's all that is. It's just human nature. People judge us by the way we show up. And now that we're showing up in person, it's even more important to elevate the way we look in our attire. And so, and also just, people expect us, if they're a client, they expect us to show up professionally, and showing up in our, athleisure or in a really dressed down look might feel incongruent to them. It might feel like, oh, I feel like I'm not that important, that you're just dressed down and you don't feel like I'm important enough for you to dress up for me. So that is a reality. I mean, that is, again, based on science. That is not something that I made up. And in fact, we're going to put the article that I mentioned earlier by Carolyn Mayer in the comments for people to refer to, because it is a really great article and it really spells out everything in detail. And it also adds a lot of great information to this topic and about dressing up for the workplace. Okay, so 3 points for getting dressed up and stepping out into the traditional workforce again. Okay, fourth thing let's discuss is, the desire for expressing yourself in really nice clothes. Some people that were working in a traditional formal business office had this amazing wardrobe. And they had an amazing wardrobe that they've curated because it made them feel good. It was a way of them expressing themselves. It was a way of them showing up for their clients and their partners in business. And now they had all this time where they could have put that stuff to use, and they enjoy it. They purely enjoy getting dressed up. I'm one of those people. I mean, I built a whole business model around dressing up. I enjoy getting dressed up to go to work because it makes me feel happy and good. And it also allows me this ability to self-express myself through the language of clothes. And so something like that is another reason why getting dressed up can be a very positive thing. It's a way to self-express yourself in a positive way. It really is. I do find style to be an art form. And so when you have this ability to do that, why wear the sweatpants when you can wear a really great fitting dress or blazer, right? Okay, so that's, in my book, 4 points for getting dressed up. Yay, that really, supports the fact that as an image consultant, there are reasons why we should still get dressed up, right? And really quickly, I don't know if Rick can come up here really quick. I'd love to get the male perspective on this, and he might be caught off guard. So I'm just going to say, if Rick could come up here and give us the male perspective, that would be awesome. But in the meantime, remember, we just listed 4 pros of why getting dressed up to go to work, now that we're transitioning into the traditional office, can be amazing and make us feel great. Rick, hi. I see you're a little bit dressed up, wearing the waistUPwardrobe cap and sporting a great colorful tee today.
I was scrambling trying to find my hat.
You know what? Here's the thing. I am sorry. I did not actually warn you that I'd be doing that to you, but I know you're always there. So
I'm usually prepared, right?
Yes, you are. So tell me about your perspective on this. I mean, I just listed 4 pros, the positive things about getting dressed up to go back into and re-enter into the office. Now, I know you do all your work freelance, so it's a little bit different for you, but do you have an opinion about this from a male perspective?
Well, I tell you, when I was in corporate, I enjoyed dressing up and wearing at a minimum, a shirt and blazer. And for me, I really didn't like wearing a tie, but I liked wearing the jacket and the shirt, right? It just made me feel better. I felt like, I had a purpose for the day, and it just put me in the right setting. Now, I would never do that sitting here in my studio, of course, but for me, I've done it both ways, and it is appropriate for whatever setting that you're in. And like you said, there is there is a mental, it puts you in the right mindset if you're dressed appropriately for the setting that you're in. And so I always tried to follow that when I was at work, even on dress down Fridays. We had, where I was, it was usually, jeans, but I still had a blazer and a nice crisp shirt, even though I was wearing jeans. It just, just felt right.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I think that that even with gentlemen, right? Gentlemen in the corporate world are used to dressing in blazers, and now we're doing that, moving from the home office to the traditional office, and really it's going to require some baby steps to get back into that mindset. But maybe it's not. Maybe things are shifting towards a different way, a different dress code, and that's what we're unpacking here. So the next thing I'd love to do, now that we've talked about the positives of dressing formally, let's talk about what we think if we changed into a more comfort clothes model. What would that look like? And are there benefits to it? So employees, the thing with dressing more casually, like we've experienced during being at home for so long, is that they will feel more comfortable, right? And feeling comfortable makes you more productive. It really does. A lot of my clients will say, oh, I can't wait sometimes to get home and just get out of that dress. It's so restrictive and structured. And so that comfort sometimes can be the discomfort rather can be uncomfortable and make you feel a little bit distracted from what you need to do. So, and be a little bit stressful, right? If you're not comfortable, you might be distracted by it, it might be on your mind, and then you can't really focus. So, one point for dressing in comfort clothes at the office. Second thing to evaluate is, a relaxed dress code can be used as an attractive way to attract employees. So if we're all re-entering into this workforce, the traditional workforce, and companies now have to rehire perhaps, or they have to bring more people in, and so that can be a very attractive feature if you're allowed to dress in your more comfortable weekender clothes at the office. People might feel, that's a perk. Why not? And so that might attract more people. And it costs less, of course, to have more casual clothes. I mean, not in every instance, but in general, it does cost less. So that's another perk. And so there's 2 points for dressing a little bit more casual. And what about, this idea that employees will have more freedom to express their individuality, right? I talked about earlier when I was talking about formal attire, it's a way of expressing yourself. And some people like to express themselves in a more luxurious, luxe way with that sharp blazer or that sharp dress, but some people favor expressing themselves a little bit more casually. It's just their signature style. And so, there is that element as well. Now that, I believe, is a double-edged sword a little bit, because, if you aren't giving people a structure of how to dress, even if they are going to dress casually, you might end up with inappropriate clothes in the workplace. And that can be dicey in more ways than one. So that's something for employers to really, really consider. So in general, I think when it comes to that freedom of being individual, people generally understand what appropriate is and what isn't. So we'll give that another point. That's 3 points for dressing, in a more comfortable, more casual way. Okay, how about the idea that employees with greater flexibility can, in the way they're dressed, can perhaps be more active during their breaks or during, the course of the day. And more active makes them more well and healthy, and that is always a benefit to the bottom line of any company. So, I'm going to put that down as a positive thing in trying to allow people to dress a little bit more casually. So where are we at right now? Well, sounds like we've got a tie. We've got a tie between let's get dressed up like we used to in a more formal way, and let's get dressed maybe a little bit more casual, because there are positives there too. So I'm going to ask Rick again what he thinks. What does he think when it comes to, and just relying on the corporate world, because I know Rick experienced the corporate world, but, a gentleman's perspective, relying on the corporate world, the comfort element, what could make it more comfortable, even if you had to wear a blazer? Do you have any ideas on that, Rick? And we'll wait for Rick to get right up, and there he is.
To make it more comfortable.
Yeah. So if a company was to go in the direction of creating a more dressed down dress code, okay,
Mm-hmm.
not so much, the tie and suit and all that. From a gentleman's perspective, what do you think would be a positive thing, or in your experience, just from your corporate experience when you used to be in the corporate world, what would be that one thing that they can do to really make it appropriate for the workforce, for the workplace, and comfortable at the same time?
Yeah, I think if you just remove the tie, it makes it way more comfortable. Yeah, everyone has their own style. I mean, I had a guy that I worked with who wore the most pastel-y shirts, very, very Miami Vice-ish, right? Type of shirts. But for him, he looked great. And then with the complimentary tie, but when he took the tie off, he was styling. I thought he looked great just because of the colors that he chose to wear underneath his suit jacket. So I don't know. From a comfort level, if you did away with the tie, I think a lot more people wouldn't complain as much because they didn't have to wear the tie.
Right. Well, it's interesting that you say that, because I love this idea of also adding flavor to the wardrobe with color, right? So
Mhm.
you can dress in a button-down shirt, but if it's in a color, then that's another way of expressing yourself. That might be something that wasn't appropriate before,
Mhm.
but now can be. I mean, we're really talking right now, we're in an arena where it's evolving. This is nothing set in stone. People are not easily going to go back to wearing those formal outfits. And they're going to push the envelope a little bit there. But, we also have to be aware that we're still working and we're still in business. And that's why I try to keep everybody in the mindset of, you got to dress up at least from the waist up. And that's what the whole show is about. So it is really important in so many respects to stay appropriate to your industry. But I love the idea of interjecting color as a way of expressing yourself that maybe you wouldn't have otherwise done. And, that's not so much a comfort thing, but maybe a great shirt that isn't necessarily your traditional white or blue shirt that a gentleman would wear, but a great color shirt without a tie can make the impact that, the shirt and tie can make. So it's just right now, we're just kind of evaluating, what are we going to do and how are we going to show up? Are the dress codes, are they going to be rewritten for the office? And truthfully, I think things are going to change, but there's still always going to be a place for that formal blazer or suit and that formal tie and shirt. And there's some industries that can never get away from that, at least not in the near future, like being in the legal field, being a lawyer, or when you show up to court, you got to show up suited up. You got to show up in a suit. If you are a CPA, you probably have to be in a suit. That is, I guess that could be up for debate, but there are industries where you have to stay pretty business formal, like in government. I don't know if I'll ever see the Senate come together with just, a polo shirt and khakis. So, and for women, like, in their, comfortable knit sweater, not likely to happen. But the issue here and the matter that we're discussing is really about trying to figure it out, because some people kind of feel like there's blurred lines. And the key thing here is that it's going to fall on the employers. It's going to fall on the employers to be really clear about what they're going to expect from their workforce as they re-enter into the office. So clarity is going to be key. And the clarity is going to have to trickle down from the employer, because there's so many liability things too that go along with that. You don't want people to come to work inappropriately dressed. And you want them to be dressed so that you feel like they represent your brand and your company. So that this does fall on the employer. And for that reason, the clarity is going to have to come from there. So how are we going to, like, if we were to define this transition period of how we're going to re-enter into the workforce, I would say we define it as an elevated casual, right? Oh, PK is on. Thank you for joining us, PK. And PK is saying, even if your weight remained the same, the distribution may have shifted. So office clothing doesn't fit well. Therefore, transitioning up from office casual would be helpful. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I totally agree. And so much has changed, right, PK? So much has changed in this past year, where we've really done things differently. Everything was being done from home, and it felt good in so many ways. But now things are shifting again, and we have to pivot again. We have to reinvent how we're going to be doing things. And like I said earlier, the companies are going to have to figure out, they're going to have to declare how they want their workforce to show up. But they also have to take into consideration what the workforce is saying. So sometimes even like asking your workforce, how do you see yourself showing up now that you're coming back into the traditional office? And really having a team conversation about that. So the guidelines can really and should be evolved with the team that you have and with the industry that you are in mind, because not every industry requires a shirt and tie, but there are now some industries that may have required it that now may be shifting. So if we were defining this transition attire as the elevated casual look, what does that look like, right? So some people ask me, well, okay, so you've now explained, okay, we know what business formal looks like. We know what our comfort clothes look like. What is that happy medium, right? And that happy medium, if I call it the elevated casual business look, it's more than just business casual. It's a little bit more than that, because we still have to have a level of formality. So what does that look like? Well, I thought about this a lot. And one of the thoughts I had was, completely monochromatic looks are great looks that look very professional, but also can be very comfortable. Like there's this company that I love, and we'll put the link in the comments. It's called nakedcashmere.com. And everything's made out of cashmere, and the colors are all monochromatic. So they even have down to tank tops in cashmere, and you can layer those and they look so elegant, so chic, so professional. So sort of monochromatic looks can be very, very elevated when it comes to showing up to work in a way that's comfortable, but also feels a little bit more dressed up, a little bit more than business casual. I'm not talking about jeans here. I'm talking about comfortable clothes that are elevated. So that line has, cashmere pants, even that they're almost like sweatpants, but they're made of cashmere. So they look more luxurious and more dressy, but they're not, because they are very soft and comfortable to be in. So, and thinking about monochromatic look, which is like the tone on tone, all creams or all taupes or all grays or even blacks. I mean, that is all monochromatic look also. So another thing that is a good way to sort of kind of think about the elevated casual look, and we do have some photographs that Rick will be able to put up for us, is clothes that are structured, that can be paired with something that's cozy, right? So sort of the white collared shirt that is very structured and very formal, tucked into a monochromatic pair of sweatpants. Or in these photographs that you see up here, you've got this long knit duster that's paired with, these wide-legged pants that, are pull-on pants, but all very, very classy and very sophisticated. On the other side, you see a blazer with a tank top. I mean, in this instance, she's wearing it with jeans, but you could pair it with a more formal pant, but you've got this really comfortable cotton shirt underneath it with a blazer that isn't very structured, is a little bit slouchy. So, you got this sort of marriage between casual comfort and a little bit formal, what we like to call elevated casual business. So that's another couple. And here's another couple idea. So this was the first, I was talking about a white collared shirt that's very traditionally very structured, tucked into a pair of sweatpants. This tends to be a little bit more of a fashiony look. So, maybe you're in an industry, even if you're like a hostess at a place or you're a receptionist, those can be very acceptable. Something like that can be very acceptable in that arena. Probably not very acceptable to wear that in a legal office. But so you have to also consider what profession you're in, but there are ways to kind of bring comfort and formal and merge them together. Like in this other photograph, we have the one before that where she's wearing a green blazer on sweatpants, right? But right there, and she's got a great handbag. So again, she's dressed down a little bit from the waist down, but then the blazer goes on top of her shirt and she's got a great, elevated casual look. In the next set of photographs, you'll see this is one of my favorite looks. Here's a very monochromatic look. It's ivory on ivory. It's this very cozy knit duster layered on top of an ivory dress that is cotton. And that could be very, very professional looking if you are a receptionist at a spa or a hair salon, or if you work as a hostess, still very, at a restaurant hostess, it's still very elevated. It's sort of, again, that elevated casual look. And on the other side, here we have a hoodie paired under a great shirt that is sort of a shirt jacket, wide open, and some structured white pants. So here you got the structured white pants, but then you got that casual hoodie. So it's this mix of casual and business. And again, always remember what industry you're in and how you need to show up for the industry too. So something like that might not be appropriate for being, again, in a legal office or in a CPA's office, but could be really, really appropriate if you were in a, if you worked in a salon or any other place where it is acceptable to be a little bit more casual. So lots of things to think about here, right? As we re-enter. Blazers for men. Let's talk a little bit about gentlemen. So men wearing blazers with t-shirts, a nice cotton t-shirt that is a luxe fabric, or without the tie. Men want to lose the tie, right? They don't want the tie. So losing the tie for the gentleman and wearing just simply a t-shirt with a great blazer, or wearing a polo shirt with a great blazer, or even just a collared shirt with a blazer, can be very acceptable. And again, looking to the employer to understand what they feel is appropriate as you interface with clients and colleagues. So, so it's like taking the comfort clothes that we've been used to wearing now that we're at home, like the elevated sweatpants or the knit wide leg pants, or that slouchy blazer, and combining it with things that we're used to seeing business formal. So it's kind of like that. It's sort of that juxtaposition between the colored white shirt paired with sweatpants, or the great top paired with a slouchy blazer, or that great knit chunky sweater paired with a nice sheath dress. So you see, it's like that mixing of really elevated and formal with the more comfort clothes. So I hope that helps give everybody sort of an idea of how you can actually accomplish this elevated business casual feeling as we re-enter into the workforce. And we're all really getting ready to dress up again, right? And the truth is that dressing up is the more safe way to go. It's way safer than deciding, okay, I'm going to go into this new job, or I'm going to re-enter into my old office. I'm going to dress way down. I would err on the other side of this, right? You're not sure what is going to happen as you re-enter. You're not used to getting dressed up anymore. I would err on the side of, taking it up in your attire at least equal to where you were when you exited from the traditional office, and being safe about it, because your work is important and the way you show up is really important. And I'm just really excited because this is like a time now where we're transitioning. We'll all be thinking about these things, and I'm excited to be helpful in giving my clients all this information and how to show up and how to really reintegrate into the workforce. And I'm going to be giving away a strategy session to anybody who wants to discuss how they are going to now fashion their wardrobe as they re-enter with the hashtag dress up and shine. You put the hashtag dress up and shine in the box, in the comments box. We're going to get together, you and I, and we're going to strategize about what is the industry you're in. How are people going to start showing up in that industry? What has your employees said to you about that? And we're gonna talk about how that would apply to you and really give you a one-on-one custom experience. And so the other thing I want to just mention really quick before we go ahead and do our wrap up is that, when I was telling people about doing makeup on camera, uh, enhancing your features on camera is really important. You almost have to put a little bit more makeup on camera than you would do in your traditional office or in real life when you see people in person. So there's a perk. There is a way that you're not going to have to, you're not going to have to feel like you're doing more than you need to. You actually can take your makeup a little bit down, just a natural look with, with the basics, the foundation and, mascara and lip for the women. That is going to be enough. While you're on camera showing up for work, we had to enhance it a little bit because you do get washed out a little bit on camera. So there's a perk. There is somewhere where you're not going to have to work so hard. But when it comes to dressing up, really look to your employer for clarity on that. And if you don't know, always the rule of thumb is to just dress up more than you expect to. That is definitely the safer way to go. Put in the comment box, hashtag dress up and shine, and we will get on a call and I will help guide you through how this is going to look for you as you re-enter into the traditional workforce. And so, as you know, we always wrap up with the Waist Up Wardrobe Weekly Wrap Up. And what I want to say is that the major takeaway here is that you have to think about getting clarity from your employer. That's the key. Your employer is going to be your guide for how to show up in the office in an appropriate way, in a way that they feel like it aligns with how they want you to their clients to see you, how they want your colleagues to interact with you. And so keep that in mind. If you don't know, you need to ask the employer, and the employer, is on them to really try and outline that for people, because not only are we going to talk about dress code as we re-enter the workforce, we're going to talk about health, right? How are people going to show up with their masks or without their masks? Are they going to have to, there's going to be so many things that are going to matter as we re-enter. So, HR departments are going to be working really hard to figure out how are people now going to transition, not only when it comes to dress code, but how they're going to transition in behavior, how they're going to transition in with, health restrictions or none, or how that's going to all work. There's so much yet here that they're going to start downloading on us in terms of the employers telling us how to show up now that we're in sort of a new normal. Okay, so the overarching takeaway is get clarity from your employer. The tools are, this article that I put in the comments is really, really helpful. And this show can be a really helpful guide for you. So go back and listen to the replay, or, if you haven't been able to be with us here today, go ahead and listen to the replay and see what the takeaways are that can help you, and some of those suggestions of, if you are going to take it casual and if you are going to be allowed to be casual, how can you make that look really professional and chic, right? And then finally, action items. Consider that dressing up and dressing down can also be a thing that really elevates your mood, right? Dressing up is such an easy way to uplift your mood, to make you happier, to make you show up happier. And so consider that. Consider that before you decide to really dress completely down for business and for re-entering the traditional world. So I hope this helps. Please reach out to me, hashtag dress up and shine. I'd be happy to get on a call with you to talk about how you can transition back into the workforce when it comes to your attire and how that you can make it feel and look good and be comfortable. I have so many ideas and so many resources I can share with you. So please do connect with me. And as you know, we'll be back here next Thursday at 11:30 live, where we will be talking about another amazing waist up wardrobe topic, and it'll be episode 46. And we are, getting to the end of the year. And by the end of this year, we're going to be doing a whole series of episodes of how to get started doing your very own podcast. How do you come up with the name? How do you come up with the topics? How do you set up for a technology? All those things I will be discussing in the last 4 episodes of before the end of the year. It'll be episode 48, 49, 50, actually it would be 52, 51, 50, and 49. Those are the episodes that are going to focus on how to build your very own podcast, like I did just from my experience. And next week, join us and bring a friend.